I'm Philip, a mouth with farts, and I approve this message.
The weapons of mass destruction, and missiles are on the Lord's band, and pointed at every nation. Joy gets shorter. Crates of guns and ammo from country to country they go.
All right, welcome back. I've been gone for a little while. Had some things to do, but we're gonna finish up with the Senate races. And today I'm gonna do the M's and the N's. So let's get right into it. First up, we have Maine, and it's going to be the Republican incumbent Susan Collins against the Democrat challenger Sarah Gideon. And of course, Wikipedia is stupid, so I'll read it to you, but anyways, but four-term Republican Susan Collins was reelected by a wide margin in 2014. She is seeking a fifth term, so she won by a huge margin. She's won by a huge margin for the last, 4 terms. She's won big time. Democrats are running, included State House Speaker Sarah Gideon, attorney Bree Kidman, and activist in 2018 gubernatorial candidate Betsy Sweet. Gideon won the nomination. And then they go on to say Collins is polling neck and neck with slightly behind Gideon. She has never faced a competitive election during her 24 years in the Senate. Even though Maine leans Democrat, as she has projected a centrist image, however, she faces growing unpopularity due to her increasingly conservative voting record and her votes to convert Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court and to acquit President Trump in his impeachment trial. See, there's the stupid. Gideon raised over 3 times as much money as Collins in the first quarter of 2020. Now, you could say that Sarah Gideon is the Speaker of the House in Maine, so she has a better name recognition, and she, it could be competitive because she's probably done a decent job. But to throw those jabs in about Brett Kavanaugh and President Trump's impeachment trial, so stupid. I really hate Wikipedia, but unfortunately it's the only thing that has a description, so I'm gonna go with it. So Maine is a toss-up between the three. It's a toss-up. Let's see what they got to say. All right, let's see what they have to say. This is Susan Collins.
My opponent and her allies are trying to scare Maine seniors. It's a scam. As chairman of the Senate Aging Committee and as the daughter of a 93-year-old mother, I work hard to protect our seniors. As long as I'm your senator, I will always vote to protect Medicare and Social Security. You can count on it. I'm Susan Collins, and I've approved this message.
Okay, so she's gone for the senior vote. Makes sense. What's the population like? Okay, so you can see here that Maine's demographics mostly 45 to 65. Actually, 50 to 65 is the bulk of the population, so she's going for that. That's pretty good. All right, let's move on. This is Sarah Gideon.
This is Sarah Gideon. This is where Sarah Gideon works for you as Maine Speaker of the House. This is the insulin that Gideon kept affordable for Mainers and their kids. Sarah Gideon has taken on insurance companies too, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and passed property tax relief for Maine's middle class. This is Sarah Gideon. And in the Senate, she'll work for you, not the special interests.
I'm Sarah Gideon, and I approve this message.
Alrighty.
This is Sarah.
Alrighty. So she's going for the healthcare side. Should be a good race. Should be a good race. I mean, if Sarah Gideon's doing a good job for Maine, it could swap. We don't know. That's going to be an interesting race. So. In Massachusetts, we got the incumbent Ed Markey, Democrat, against the challenger Kevin O'Connor, Republican. This one looks pretty good. I like this one. Even though Massachusetts is as blue as it gets, it's dark, dark blue. Most likely Ed Markey will win. But I kind of like this Kevin O'Connor guy. He's pretty good. So let's look at their stuff. Ed Markey.
Ed Markey's desk was thrown out in the hall by the State House bosses because Markey fought to make judges work full-time. Markey's bill is now the law.
I'm Ed Markey. I'm running for the Senate because I want to fight for the principles that I believe in. Fairer taxes, more jobs, better health care. I'm tired of watching people suffer while politicians make their backroom deals. The bosses may tell me where to sit. No one tells me where to stand.
All right. Ed Markey. That was decent. But Ed Markey, that whole desk thing was back in 1976. I mean, come on, dude. You got to stand on something more than something that happened 34 years ago. I mean, you got to show more than that. Is that all you done since you've been there? Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense of why you would put that in your ad. Although, like I said, it's Massachusetts. They're probably not. Democrats probably aren't spending much money on this race because they already know they got it won. But you know, all right. Let's see what the other guy has. All right. So Kevin O'Connor has quite a few ads, but I'm just gonna play this one. First one. It's the first one that popped up, so I'm just gonna play it.
I'm Kevin O'Connor, and I'm running for United States Senate. I'm tired of the BS coming our way from Washington. We need to stop the Democratic Socialist agenda. When I'm your senator, I'll make sure that happens. I'll fight for a government by the people and for the people. I'll fight to defend, not defund the police. I'll fight for lower taxes, I'll fight for a strong economy, and I'll fight for a strong America. I'll be your fighter in Washington. I'm Kevin O'Connor, and I approve this message.
Okay. I don't know how well that's going to work out in Massachusetts, but he does look like a Boston guy. So, that might do well, you know. The O'Connor. There's like two names in Massachusetts. The O'Connor. There's like two names in Massachusetts. It's like Kennedys and O'Connors. If you got an O in front of your name in Massachusetts, you're doing pretty good. So, I don't know. Seems like a tough guy. But how well those talking points that he just said will stand up in mass, I don't know. So we'll see. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Democrat Ed Markey was reelected in 2014. He won a 2013 special election to replace longtime incumbent John Kerry, who resigned to become U.S. Secretary of State he is running for a second term. Joe Kennedy III, 4-term U.S. Representative from Massachusetts 4th District and grandson of former U.S. Senator and U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, successfully challenged Markey for the Democratic nomination. Noted conspiracy theorist, here we go with Wikipedia. Noted conspiracy theorist Shiva Ayyadurai, I don't even know, an independent candidate for U.S. Senate in 2018, unsuccessfully ran against attorney Kevin O'Connor for Republican nomination. On August 24th, 2020, perennial candidate Vermin Supreme launched its write-in candidate for the Libertarian nomination, but received few votes to qualify for the general election ballot. That's too bad. That's too bad. I love Vermin Supreme. I should probably do something on him. And of course, Massachusetts, solid, safe Democrat. So I don't think O'Connor's gonna have a chance in Snowball's chance in hell, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Ed Markey's not the greatest guy in the world, so it might we might get surprised here. Hopefully, that'd be cool. Next up, we got a good one in Michigan. Believe it or not, Michigan is kind of a swing state. I think people in Michigan are kind of getting tired of these people, especially that governor. That governor's a POS, man. But anyways, we got the incumbent, Gary Peters, a Democrat, running against John James, a Republican. I heard of John James. I watched one of the Trump rallies in Michigan, and John James was there, and he pointed him right out, boy. Pointed him right out. And so let's see what we got. This is Gary Peters.
He's been called one of the most effective members of the U.S. Senate. Gary Peters. He served in the Navy Reserve, and after the September 11th attacks, volunteered to serve again. In the Senate, Gary Peters voted to get our troops the pay raise they deserve and worked to keep Michigan safe.
The way I look at this, we should not be even thinking about Democratic ideas and Republican ideas. We should just be thinking about ideas that are good for the country, ideas that are great for Michigan.
Thank Gary Peters. Tell him to keep fighting for Michigan. He's been called.
So Gary Peters is a veteran and sounds like a reasonable man. It's gonna be a tough fight. He sounds like he's a reasonable person. He fights for veterans, so that's a good thing. I'd have to look into his record a little more, but I can't say anything bad about the guy. I don't know too much about him, but my favorite senators are the quiet ones. the ones that don't bring up a bunch of crap. It's one thing I always said about these. I had a discussion with somebody one day that these people need to get together and come together and agree more. And I'm like, no, whatever these people agree, it costs me more money. So, Gary Peters. It was pretty good. All right, here's John James.
I'm John James. I'm running for the Senate, and I approve this ad.
John James' TV ad says Senator Peters doesn't show up for work. Is that true? Senator Gary Peters did not show up at 89% of hearings on holding China accountable, 84% of small business hearings, 80% of Homeland Security hearings in 2016, the subcommittee that includes preparing for a pandemic, 60% finance hearings during the 2009 recession. So, yes, it is true. Peters does not often show up for work. Don't try this at home or you'll likely be fired.
I'm John.
Huh. Okay. Again, this is something I'd have to look into. We all should look into if you're in Michigan. But I've heard John James speak quite a bit too, and I kind of like that guy. I like him. He seems like he's on the ball. So there you go. There you have it. Michigan. Here's the tell of the tape. Democrat Gary Peters was elected in 2014 after serving 6 years in the House of Representatives. He is seeking a second term. 2008 Senate nominee John James won the Republican nomination. He faced token opposition for the Republican nomination from perennial candidate Bob Carr. Oh, Jesus Christ. Fucking YouTube or WikiLeaks. Wikipedia. The man's black and they threw the word token in there. It's so bad. Oh, this is so bad. Michigan is one of the most competitive states in national elections. James came unexpectedly close to unseating Michigan's other Democrat Senator Debbie Stabenow in 2018. Stabenow is a longtime senator whose name recognition Peters lacks. But Republicans are growing more unpopular in Michigan after the state narrowly voted for Trump in 2016. Then switched back to Democrats in all statewide races in 2018. Peters generally leads James by 8 to 12 points in the poll. But yeah, you're going to just take those stabs, huh? Wikipedia? I don't know why I'm using this, but I'm just going to keep going because I started with it. So it's so biased. Who writes this shit? Oh, God. All right. Michigan. All right. Next up is one of my favorite states, Minnesota. Got the incumbent Tina Smith, a Democrat, going against a Republican Jason Lewis. Jason Lewis has been around for a little while. He's done some other things too. So let's take a look at what they got. Tina Smith.
I'm Tina Smith. I went to the Senate to work for Minnesota. I fought to be on the Agriculture Committee because farming isn't just part of Minnesota history, it's our future. I worked with Republicans and Democrats to pass the Senate Farm Bill, which expands broadband in rural areas, strengthens crop insurance, and helps new farmers get started, all critical to Minnesota's economic future. I approve this message because I'll get the job done for Minnesota. There you go.
All right, that was a nice ad. Going for the farmers, which is pretty huge in Minnesota. I don't know. Minnesota's gotten weird over the last 10, 15 years with Al Franken and what just happened with George Floyd and Minneapolis and all that. I don't know. I loved going to Minneapolis. I'm a big Minnesota Vikings fan, so was. I don't quite watch NFL anymore. But, yeah, I've been to Minneapolis a couple of times, watch a game. And this city was beautiful. The whole state's beautiful. I loved it. We'll see what happens. All right, so for Jason Lewis, I couldn't really find much. A lot of attack ads. So, this one's 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. I'm only going to play the first minute 30. It'll give you a good idea.
You have an idea how these sorts of things are supposed to go. A politician looks in the camera and tells you what a great job he or she has done or will do on your behalf. They have a patriotic backdrop, a finely pressed suit, and a teleprompter telling them what to say. But I'm not going to do politics as usual. I'm going to speak from the heart. Today, we are at a crossroads in Minnesota and across this country, not seen since the chaos and turmoil of the 1960s. Private property, religious liberty, due process, the pride of citizenship, the national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, even Betsy Ross's flag are now seen as dispensable relics to a radical political movement that appears to be gaining steam in the corridors of power. It is a dangerous development. Indeed, the so-called resistance led by our own Ilhan Omar, with Tina Smith marching in lockstep, seem unaware of our founders' genius in the Constitution. Instead, they want to debate whether we ought to even keep it. The concept of freedom has come under attack at our universities, in the media, and of course online. Violent groups even attack those with whom they disagree. They have declared border walls immoral, but not infanticide. They want to abolish ICE, private health insurance, welfare work requirements, air travel, fossil fuels, the internal combustion engine, why capitalism itself. Well, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. I'm going to fight back. And that's why today, I'm proud to announce my candidacy to represent Minnesota in the United States Senate.
Okay, there's John Lewis. That's pretty good. I liked it. Straight and to the point. We'll see how he does. The tale of the tape. Incumbent Democrat Tina Smith was appointed to the U.S. Senate to replace Al Franken in 2018 after serving as lieutenant governor and won a special election later in 2018 to serve the remainder of Franken's term. On August 11th, she won the Democratic nomination to serve full term. Former Congressman, he's a former Congressman. John Lewis is the Republican nominee, having defeated minor candidates Cynthia Gale, John Berman, Bob Carney, and James Rubenstein in the primary election. So she was appointed. So she actually won the seat later on, but just to serve out his term. Nah, John Lewis might have a good shot at this. Let's see what happens. All right, next up is Mississippi. We got the incumbent Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith going against Mike Espy, the Democrat. Let's watch. Oh. So Cindy Hyde-Smith didn't really have very much, but she does have a nice website. So I'm just going to kind of show you the website because it's about all I could find. So this is her website. And she's got all sorts of links and Twitters and whatever. It's a nice website, but she doesn't have any real videos. So I don't think they're going to spend any money in Mississippi. It's pretty red. So we'll see what happens. So here's Mike Espy.
When there was little health care for our community, Mike Espy's grandfather, T.J. Huddleston, built the first Black-owned and operated hospital in Mississippi, brick by brick. Mike Espy became Mississippi's first Black congressman and served in President Bill Clinton's cabinet. Now, Mike Espy is running to become Mississippi's U.S. Senator and focus on Mississippi's youth, fix our schools, and improve our state's image.
I believe in Mississippi, and I want our young people to stay here. That means creating good jobs in caring communities. I'll take on the damaging stereotypes that hurt our communities and our economy and work to attract companies and jobs to Mississippi. My grandfather asked for $1 for a brick to help build a hospital. I'm asking you for one vote on November 6th to help build a better future for Mississippi. I'm Mike Espy, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Mike Espy for Senate Campaign Committee.
All right, there's Mike Espy. That wasn't bad. It was milk toast. Let's see. The tail of the tape. After 7-term Republican Thad Cochran resigned in April 2018, Republican Governor Phil Bryant appointed State Agricultural Commissioner Cindy Hyde-Smith to succeed him until a special election could be held later in the year. Hyde-Smith won the November 2018 special election to fill the remainder of Cochran's term, which ends in January 2021. Hyde-Smith is running for a full term. She was unopposed in the Republican primary. Former U.S. Secretary of Agriculture and 2018 Senate candidate Mike Espy won the Democrat primary with 93.1% of the vote. It's a primary. I mean, 93.1% of the vote in a primary is good, but it's just Democrats, that's all. So that means most Democrats in Mississippi approve of him. That doesn't mean anything. Libertarian candidate Jimmy Edwards also made the general election ballot. Yeah, that's great, but, you know. Let's see. Mississippi, solid Republican, safe Republican. That's why they're not spending any money. I don't think they're going to spend any money on this. She's probably going to get it. That's a safe seat. So, on to the next one. All right, for the last of the M's, we got Montana. Now, this could be kind of a swing state. It seems to have kind of gone purple a little bit in the last couple of years. We got the incumbent Steve Daines against the Democrat Steve Bullock. So let's check them out. All right, one of the things I seen was Steve Daines is that he has quite a few videos up, and they're all from people around the whole state. So it's pretty cool. He just has a bunch of people talking from all over the state. So I just picked one 30-second video. And
I worked on our family farm for 62 years. I earned my Medicare benefits. But now liberal politicians are threatening our health care. And Steve Bullock is on their side. Steve Bullock supports government-controlled health care, which would mean worse care and higher taxes. Steve Bullock has changed. And that's why I'm with Steve Daines. Steve Daines is fighting to protect Medicare and lower prescription drug prices.
I'm Steve Daines, and I approve this message.
I worked on...
Okay, so that's just one of them that he had. There's people from all over the place, miners and coal miners and other farmers and environmentalists talking about a lot of the national parks in Montana. So, obviously I'm not gonna play them all, but I watched quite a few of them, and they were good. They were good. So let's move on. All right, here's Steve Bullock.
In Montana, our rivers and streams belong to the public. So when wealthy landowners tried to block access for fishing, Steve Bullock led the fight to protect our public access rights. Bullock took on his own party to defend our Second Amendment rights and fought back every effort to transfer our public lands.
And you know what's great? Every one of us own these public lands.
Because that's what's right for Montana.
I'm Steve Bullock, and I approve this message.
Interesting. So, Steve Bullock is one of the gun rights Democrats, which is cool. He necessarily has to be in Montana. I mean, you can't be an anti-gunner in Montana. that's a death knell. But it seems pretty good. It's gonna be a tight race, I think. It's gonna be a good race. We'll have to see what happens because, you know, it's a toss-up. All right, let's see what Wikipedia has to say. Let's see. Republican Steve Daines was elected in 2014 after serving 2 years in the United States House of Representatives. He is seeking a second term. Daines was opposed prior to his nomination in the Republican primary by hardware store manager Daniel Larson and former Democratic Speaker of the Montana House of Representatives, John Driscoll, who changed parties in 2020. Incumbent Governor Steve Bullock won the Democrat nomination, defeating nuclear engineer and U.S. Navy veteran John Muse. Libertarian and Green Party candidates were set to appear in the general election ballot, but the Libertarians refused to nominate a replacement after their nominee withdrew, and the Greens nominee was disqualified. Once seen as likely to remain in Republican hands, Daines' seat is now competitive due to Bullock's last-minute entry. Bullock leads Daines by single digits in the most recent polling and has also raised more money than Daines. But Montana is expected to be safely Republican in the presidential election, meaning that Bullock is relying on Montana's history of ticket splitting, as he did in 2016 when he was reelected to a second gubernatorial term by 4 points, despite Trump winning the state by 20 points. Montana also reelected John Tester, a Democrat, to the Senate in 2018 by 4 points. Daines was elected to the first term by a comfortable margin in 2014. All right, well, Montana's a toss-up, leaning Republican. We'll have to see on this one. We'll have to see. It's gonna be a tough fight. But they both seem to be pushing pretty hard and fighting. So, all right, so that's it for the M's. We'll go on to the N's next. So, love you. See ya.